Hello, friends. This is a quick recap of where we are in our writing, our narrative, our personal narrative, in fact, and the big thing happens, or BTH for short. Now, these are the criteria for writing this paper. It has to be true. It has to have happened to you. It showcases a good amount of emotion. So there has to be some emotion in there for readers to want to read it, right? To keep it interesting for them. And it has to happen in a short amount of time. So no more than 10 minutes in length, right? Those are the key elements for writing this paper. Now, what we have done so far is we started writing our graphic organizer for our big thing. And my story, of course, was in that bus in Costa Rica, right? Hanging off the side of the bus, in fact. That was the big thing, a big event that caused a lot of emotion, stress in this case for me. I was freaked out. But that is the moment that it happened. Now, again, I'm not telling the story of walking down to the bus stop. I'm not telling the story even of flying down to Costa Rica and meeting the family that I stayed with. I'm telling the story of the moment, of the big thing. My entire story will take less than 5 minutes in terms of time that has passed. So, for the big thing that happened, so far, we've worked on our jot dots and the moment just after the big thing, detailing and jot dotting how we were feeling, what we were thinking, what it felt like. And then we go to the beginning, the moment just before the big thing. I'm not telling about what I had for breakfast that morning. It's the moment just before, right? That's what keeps it interesting is it's a short amount of time and we're going to chock it full of detail. So how do we chock it full of detail? Well, here was our mini lesson for today, setting the scene. And writers create a picture for their reader by setting the scene. It's a tactic that they all do. They use a hook too. So one of our lessons was how to write a hook. In Jambari Jumps, right, they start with dialogue. In Owl Moon, they use a hook by setting the scene. So our mini lesson today was how to set the scene. And one way in which we can set the scene is we can do that by adding sensory details. So what does the character see? Now, in this case, in a personal narrative, the character is yourself. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What sort of things are you touching? What might you even taste? By adding those details, we can create a picture for our readers. It's a really high level thing to do. So in class today, one of our lessons was we talked about what sort of details could we add if we wanted to set the scene for a spooky forest, right? Could we talk about what we see, what we taste, what we feel? Let me give you a quick overview. And again, as a storyteller or a writer, I'm going to use that sing-songy type of narrative writing, right? I walked through the spooky forest. I could hardly see an inch ahead of me because the mist was so dark. And each time I walked past one of those creepy, eerie trees, it felt like claws as its branches reached out and grabbed onto my sweater. I felt the slippery moss beneath me as each foot slid upon it. And I could feel breathing on my back, which made every hair on my neck stand up, and I could smell his breath before I saw him, and I turned around. You catch my drift? I gave you taste, I gave you smell, I gave you sight, I gave you feel, what I felt under my feet, right? By adding those sensory details, we can really detail what is happening and create a story, a picture for our reader. Now, the last bit of it is tonight, you need to write a paragraph that is setting the scene of your BTH. Okay, that is your assignment here. You need to set the scene, write your paragraph, use sensory details. We will then go back and we'll add an additional hook to that opening paragraph. Here is an example I provided you of my story. I talked about the bus, right? If I had to start my story setting the scene, here we go. I stepped up to the silver stairwell and grabbed hold of the railing. The bus was crowded with people everywhere. I could smell the body odor of the man next to me. The sweat trickled down my neck as I realized the bus was moving. I felt the slippery handrail and held on for dear life. I could hear children's voices and a baby crying in my head, and I kept hearing the noise of the asphalt beneath the wheel because I was standing directly next to the huge black tire as it drove over each bump. Would this be the end of me? What if I fell off? Oh my gosh, I even threw in a hook. I added a question at the end of my last paragraph. So, friends, this is where we are on our writing. We're getting started. We're going to add so much sensory detail that we paint a picture for our classmates when they are reading our story. Okay? It's just the beginning, my friends. But we're going to write a 5-paragraph essay on our big thing that happened. And again, we're using our graphic organizer. From there, we're just going to chalk it so full of detail that although our story takes place in, say, a time span of less than 5 minutes, it's going to be so engaging and entertaining that the reader's not going to be able to put it down. Okay? Cheerio, my friends. That's it.